If you're a fan of 200cc and Mario Kart 8, I've got some bad news for you as it applies to Mario Kart World, as it seems like it's not going to be in the game at all, or at least at launch. This is according to a new Rolling Stone interview with the developer or producer of the game being Mr. Yabuki, who I had, by the way, had a chance to interview many years ago now at E3, all about ARMS, super nice guy, so it's fun hearing more from him about Mario Kart World. So what he specifically had to state that is during development, the way that we developers approach the game is we try to think of 150cc as being the standard way of playing. We try to use 150cc to experience these newly designed courses first and make sure that they work at that engine size, before they then go on to make the others like 50cc and 100cc. So for me, hearing that, that's actually really good news because 150cc is my preferred way of playing, and it's good to know that the courses are designed with that in mind. However, he did go on to comment on 200cc when he was asked about the plans for 200cc to come to the game. And he responded that some players are really happy with the addition of high difficulty modes like this. He then added, however, does this mean we're going to consider adding engine sizes that are larger than 150cc to Mario Kart World? I'm afraid I can't say just yet. So basically the implication, again, just to clarify, is that for now, 150cc is the top of the line you can get in Mario Kart World, but he did leave the door open to 200cc appearing down the line, or at least a mode akin to that. Now, not confirmation in any way, so he's just leaving the door open, which makes sense considering 200cc wasn't even an original part of Mario Kart 8 either. It was added, what, a year or two? I think a year or so after launch, maybe less, I can't remember. It's so long ago now at this point. And of course it was there at the launch of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but that made sense because that was a port of the Content Complete Mario Kart 8 version on Wii U. So yeah, so there is still hope for it, but that is basically the end of the line for launch hope of 200cc being in the game. And it's nice to have that finally answered, even though we're literally almost just hours away at this point from the game being out and us having found out ourselves. Now, there are a few other interesting things in this interview. Nothing new really about the game. It seems like at this point we know almost everything about the game. But he did talk about the development process, including how the heck you balance 24 racers at a time, which they had to relook at everything, every mechanic in the game, and make sure it's all properly balanced. He also talked about the open world, or I should say interconnected world, because he basically stressed that this is not really an open world game. It's a free-roaming, interconnected world. So what he specifically states that is when it comes to Mario Kart World, we naturally didn't use a phrase open world, because for me sometimes that definition can be a little bit unclear, ambiguous, and we wanted to stay very specific. So that's interesting. He goes on to talk about how they made this is very much a a game in which you have all these destinations being the racetracks themselves, which are then connected by all these different routes. And so in that sense, this is very much not like a GTA type open world or even a Zelda open world. It really is more like these central points plopped into a world that surrounds them, right? Hence it being interconnected. So I do appreciate that, though I also kind of wish they had taken that concept even further. And to that point, he said something else interesting here, because he talked about two of the main things he wanted to do was make the interconnected world along with 24 players, as I already mentioned. But as part of that, what Mario Kart World ended up being is only the small tip of the iceberg, is in the sense that it could be far grander in the future. He specifically states that, but we think the rest of the iceberg as a future treasure that we're storing for later use. I don't know where the jazz hands came from, I just added there. So to reiterate, he thinks that there's much more they can do with this concept later on. Now, whether it's talking about within Mario Kart World itself as like DLC or an expansion or a whole new Mario Kart game, it's not quite clear, but that makes me really excited. The fact that he already has an idea of how much farther you could take this concept and really deliver on that in the future. Because again, I am so excited for this game. I love playing it. I love the reveal for it. Everything about it is really exciting. At the same time, I'm not gonna lie, based on what I've seen in the free roam mode, it's not that exciting, and that could have been way better in the part that they really could have enhanced, like with a story-based mode, better objectives rather than all these P-switch missions, which seem to be basically the same type of ones over and over, just with different obstacles. I don't know, so I would love if they really delved into the single-player portion later on, far beyond what they're doing in this game so far. But from a multiplayer perspective, this game's looking amazing, and I'm loving everything I'm seeing. Finally, with there being 24 characters, of course, or sorry, 24 racers at a time, they did touch on the expanded roster as well. And one of the things they talked about is how they've been adding new and different characters, which I thought was interesting. So Mr. Yabuki says that, I have to say that in previous Mario Kart titles, we had to consider whether or not the characters would be able to drive, as in, could they actually physically drive the kart? He continued that, perhaps my old way of thinking was, well, surely they would need to have hands and feet to be able to drive. But I'll say that's come a long way for me, and maybe I've changed my thinking. So now even though characters like Goomba even though there are characters like Goomba or Pokey, I think, okay, sure, they can drive. So I love that perspective, because I actually kind of have the same perspective. It bugs me just a little bit that Goomba doesn't, use his feet or his mouth to hold the wheel or something. On the other hand, I'm not too torn up about it. I think it's worth having them there at all if it meant that was a deciding factor. If they weren't gonna animate him using his mouth or his feet, I'll take it as is, because it looks hilarious and cute. And now that we got Cal as well, which I touched on here as well, I think it's pretty amazing. So there we go, everyone. Those are the key details I picked up on out of this interview. If you want to read it to yourself, or if you want to read it yourself or to yourself, I'll link it in the description below. In any case, with that, thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Mario Kart World, including our launch live stream tomorrow night. I will be picking up the system and playing it at the very moment I can. Hopefully it'll be shortly after, midnight Pacific time, a little bit after 11 my time, and it should be a lot of fun. I can't wait. So with everyone, thank you for watching. We'll catch you later. Bye. Oh, let me know in the comments what you think. Are you upset about no 200cc mode to launch? I want to know, as well as the open world comments and everything else. All right, now I'm done. Bye, everyone.